Hello, and thank you for listening to this episode of the Moore's October Rants. Today's episode is going to be titled Approaching Different Conversations. Every now and then, when we are having conversations with people, we can sometimes, and well, maybe not on purpose, think that some conversations are cookie cutter. But conversations aren't cookie cutter. What works in one moment with one person can fall flat or blow up with another. It's easy to assume, hey, I had this conversation already. It went well. I'll just run it back. But people are different, really different, and how they respond to a topic can vary wildly based on personality, mood, background, or personal experience. Take politics, for example. Say you're talking with a friend about a hot button issue like abortion. The conversation is open, respectful, maybe even energizing. Then you take that same discussion to someone new, maybe someone you just started talking to online, and suddenly you hit resistance. The vibe changes. They're not reacting the same way at all. Why? Because not everyone processes the same ideas the same way. One person might be curious and receptive, another might get defensive, uncomfortable, or upset. It's not always about the topic, it's about how it's approached and who you're talking to. I've caught myself expecting agreement, or at least understanding, just because someone else handled the same conversation well. That's a setup for disappointment. Assuming someone's going to meet you where you're at, especially when you haven't met them there yet, is risky. It makes the whole interaction feel transactional instead of relational. What I've really come to see is that it's not just what you say, it's how you say it. That phrase might be overused, but it's real. You can say just about anything, but if your tone's off, your phrasing too sharp, or your timing bad, the message gets lost. Or worse, it causes damage. You could be completely honest and still come off as abrasive, or you could be blunt and somehow still sound respectful. It all comes down to the delivery. That's where real communication lives, in the nuance. Sometimes the difference between a productive conversation and a total disaster is just the way a sentence lands. We also tend to forget that people don't share our filters. What we think is a calm, curious discussion might feel like a personal attack to someone else. And unless we're paying close attention, we won't even notice we've crossed a line. That's the part that requires real effort, reading the room, listening more than speaking, and adjusting in real time. This especially shows up when talking with women. One woman might be totally open to discussing issues like rape statistics or abortion rights. She might appreciate that you're willing to tackle difficult subjects. But another woman might shut down at the mention of the same topics, not because she disagrees, but because it's personal, painful, or just not something she's ready to unpack. And you can't always know in advance how someone will respond. That's why assumptions are dangerous. Just because one person handled a topic well doesn't mean the next person will. We do people a disservice when we treat them like stand ins for others we've spoken to before. This isn't about walking on eggshells, it's about being intentional. You can still have deep, challenging conversations. You just need to make sure the person you're talking to is in a place to have them. That takes awareness, not caution. Curiosity, not control. One of the biggest things I've learned is that empathy isn't passive, it's active. It's not just feeling bad when someone gets upset, it's anticipating how something might land and choosing to word it in a way that builds trust, not tension. So now, when I step into conversations, especially sensitive ones, I try to lead with awareness. I take stock of who I'm speaking to, how they're responding, and what kind of space the conversation's happening in. I still speak honestly, but I shape my words more carefully, not out of fear, but out of respect. Respect doesn't mean sugarcoating the truth. It means knowing the weight of your words and choosing not to drop them recklessly. It's knowing that just because something is true doesn't mean it's helpful in the moment. And yeah, I've messed this up before, plenty of times. I've spoken too quickly, assumed too much, or pushed a point that didn't need pushing. But every misstep has taught me something. Mainly, good communication takes more than just talking. It takes listening, adjusting, and sometimes even holding back. Conversations shape our relationships and our understanding of the world. They're how we connect, grow, challenge each other, and build bridges. But they only work when we recognize that every person brings something different to the table. If we treat people like individuals rather than interchangeable dialogue partners, we stand a better chance of having conversations that actually go somewhere. That's something I remind myself of constantly, not just for my own sake, but for anyone who might be listening. Anyways, thank you for listening to this episode of the Moore's October Rants. Signing out. Have a good one, guys. Goodbye for now.